Yes, well, we are a nation of immigrants, also a nation helped founded by pirates, and we are at Pirate Money Radio. You know, we love to study history because it can teach us a lot about where we've been and where we're going. It can give us warning signals. It can give us lessons learned that can help us increase our prosperity, benefit and bless Americans. And immigration's been an important part of our entire history. Immigrants have created opportunities. They've come here looking for opportunity. And yet immigration can also be a form of economic warfare. Other nations have, in the past, sent criminals to overrun and overturn nations. They've sent spies to integrate among the population, steal secrets, pass along ideas. And there have been efforts to overwhelm the social services of a nation with too many people. Now, we love immigrants here in America. Most of Americans, half my family on my mom's side, they were all immigrants. They came to America. The other half were the people that greeted the boat when the Mayflower arrived, the Cherokee heritage. But we believe in immigration, and we don't believe in open borders that threaten private property rights. That's not a blessing. But I want to keep in mind, immigration is not the problem. It's the way that it's managed. But the way it's being managed today is a direct threat to your liberty, your security, and your values. It is a means of warfare from other nations, both external but also internal. Politicians who see a different America than the one you grew up in, they want to fundamentally change America, and they're using immigration to do it. Now, we have more illegal immigrants entering our nation than any point in our nation's history. In fact, the number of illegal immigrants that have come in just during the Biden administration is more than the total population of 36 independent states. So if you look at the total population of the states, more than any one of those 36 is the amount of immigrants that have come in. That's going to have economic impacts, personal impacts, political impacts, and spiritual impacts. How do we respond as Christians? We need to formulate a plan. And I'm pleased to be joined today with Mike Carter, my colleague from the Economic War Room, coming back here to Pirate Money Radio to give us his wisdom, insights, and thoughts. Welcome, Mike.
Hey, great to be here this morning. First of all, that's a shocking fact that I'd not heard before, Kevin. 36 states, and let's repeat that again. You're going to talk about the economic impact, the personal impact, political impact, and spiritual impacts. There's a lot of pieces to this thing that people may or may not realize. I think it's natural for us as Christians to say, hey, we want to welcome those legally here, and we want to give everybody a chance for liberty, security, and values. But it seems like what's happening now is not to promote liberty, security, and values. It's to do something very, very different. And when I heard that fact of 36 states, I mean, you're literally changing the voting demographics of the country.
Oh, yeah. So you look at the total population of Massachusetts or Louisiana. I mean, you were recently in Louisiana. How many people live in Louisiana?
I think it's around 4 million.
Right. More than 4 million people have come in. So you list all of the states, and only 14 states have a population greater than the number of people that have come into the country during the Biden administration.
Wow. That sounds a little bit like According to Plan, one of your previous books to me.
Well, I don't know if to what degree it's according to plan. I know that a number of people have threatened America, want to see America taken down, and so forth. I also know that the average growth per month of immigration under Trump was about 42,000 people a month. Under Biden, it's been 172,000 people, now accounting for a record 51 million people, legal and illegal, or undocumented. I mean, some people prefer the term undocumented or illegal, whatever you want to call it. 51.1 million people are first generation here. They weren't born here, but they've come here. Mm-hmm. That's a huge impact.
Yes, I wasn't that long ago. Earlier in my career, I remember consumer products. We were looking at 250 million people in the U.S. Now there's 100 million more.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So it's like adding a Salt Lake City every month. Salt Lake City has a population a little under 200,000, and we're bringing in another 172,000 people a month under Biden, 4 times what we did under the Trump administration.
Well, certainly that could be exciting, right? Economic growth, we that drives certain things. We need more labor out there, but.
Oh, yeah, you're trying to put some lipstick on this. Good job with that. I mean, 7.2 million people have come here crossing the border without following the protocols, the rules, the laws, and so forth. So you can call them undocumented, you can call them illegal. But 7.2 million people, according to the New York Post, have entered the U.S. during the Biden administration, which, again, is greater than the population of 36 different states.
Well, I'm sure there's a big melting pot somewhere we haven't seen yet, right? Where they're coming to learn the values of America and be a part of that.
Well, the great melting pot should be taking place, and that is what took place in American history. And we did open with that America is a nation built on immigration. And some of those principles are what we need to return to. Please, everyone understand that no one here is against immigration. We are a nation of immigrants. I wouldn't exist if it weren't for immigration, because my mother's family would have never met my father's Cherokee family, and there would be no Kevin Freeman right now. But so I'm grateful for immigration and bringing it in. But I think we need to be aware that right now there's an economic impact. 20% of our workforce are now a record immigrants, people coming to America, not being born here. And that's a huge number.
It's a huge number, and as you said before, the economic impact, I don't think people can. It's almost like the national debt, which we've covered in previous shows, but it's almost like there's a normalcy bias. You can't conceive what that really means or how much that is.
Well, here's the article from New York Post. It says, and they are gobbling up U.S. jobs. In February 2024, the 31 million immigrant workers accounted for 19.3% of workers, both new record highs. Compared to February 2020, right before COVID, the number of immigrant workers is up 3.3 million, while the number of U.S.-born workers is down by 1 million. And that's a report that was recently published and accounted for under New York Post. So it's a huge impact. Now, we've got to keep in mind as believers in Christ, and we are Christians here, that God's word is pretty specific. We should not be angry or attack people who are here. In fact, it says quite the opposite. Leviticus 19:34, New International Version, says, "The foreigner residing among you must be treated as your native born. Love them as yourself, for you were foreigners in Egypt, and I am the Lord your God." So keeping that in mind, and keeping in mind that at an individual level, we need to show these people as much love, compassion, support as we possibly can. But at a corporate level, we need to have policies here in the United States of America that account lovingly for our existing citizens as well as those coming in. And we have a right to have rules, laws, and procedures by which people can come here legally, not just illegally.
So policy, when you say policy, like the Cloward-Piven policy, is that a good one? Yeah,
well, that's a frightening policy, and that's an actual attack on America, and we'll get to that after we take our next break. But I just want to emphasize the importance of loving our neighbor as we love ourselves, the importance of caring for the immigrant and the foreigner who is here. But this does not require us supporting illegal activity. We're a nation of laws and a nation with borders. You know, Israel, which had this law under Leviticus 19:34, they did not hesitate to repel invaders. In fact, I've been reading in the Old Testament, I've just gotten through 1 Samuel, both King Saul and King David were repelling invaders. You come across illegally, you come and enter our land with malintentions, and they took you out, either took you out of the land or took you out in other ways. So these are serious problems that we're facing, and they have serious implications. When we talk about immigration, legal and illegal, we need to prepare a Christian response, but we can't be ignorant of the threats that they're bringing. What we're going to do after the break is we're going to talk about that Cloward-Piven strategy and other things we ought to do in response. Here's a $10 bill. It's got the picture of Alexander Hamilton on the front of it. You know, it's kind of sad. When I was 10 years old, everything that I could buy for $1 now costs about $10. That's the cost of inflation. It's just paper. It's not backed by anything. You can't exchange it for gold and silver. You used to, but you can't do that anymore. And that's unfortunate. You know, pirates wouldn't accept this. Pirates, they wanted gold and silver. Patriots, the founders of this nation, also wanted gold and silver coin. In fact, they put a provision in the Constitution, 17 words, that said states could only make gold and silver coins tender within the states. That's why I wrote this new book, Pirate Money, Discovering the Founders' Hidden Plan for Economic Justice and Defeating the Great Reset. It will explain exactly the history of money and exactly why gold and silver coins can be made modern with new technology and a useful monetary system. PirateMoneyBook.com.
Welcome back to Pirate Money Radio with your host, Kevin Freeman.
Yeah, we've been talking about immigration, legal and illegal. And there was a strategy that was put forth by some academics that were absolute Marxists. And they said, here's how we break America. You know, Marxists have been trying to crack the American nut from the very beginning. They thought they could start class warfare, but then there was upward mobility in America. And so you had the opportunity, you could earn a little more than your father did, maybe get a little better education, maybe go a little further in life. And so they weren't able to cause a class war. And they've tried race wars, and they've tried, cultural Marxism and everything else. But one of the strategies that was created by Richard Cloward and Francis Fox Piven, called the Cloward-Piven strategy, was we can break America by taking advantage of America's good heart and good intentions and overwhelming the social service system. Mike, have you heard of the Cloward-Piven strategy?
I have, and from what everything I've heard about them, they're not here for liberty, security, and values.
Yeah, no, they had a four-step strategy. One is overload and break the welfare system. Welfare, that was set up to help people
Yes.
because we were compassionate and caring.
I remember when I was a kid at church, and they would bring people in from other countries, and we would literally work to help those people find jobs, sponsor them, assimilate them into the country. It was a good thing. It was a win-win for everybody.
And it is a good thing. Showing compassion is always a good thing. And I have no problem with helping people, and I think we ought to do. We have a Christian responsibility to do. Our nation has purposed to do that with welfare. Now, we've talked before on previous shows, we've talked about the debt that it's compiled and so forth, but the purpose of the Cloward-Piven strategy was to overload and break the welfare system. One of the ways you can do that, take a food bank and then go round up 1,000 people and have them descend on that food bank all at once.
Yeah.
What would happen?
Yeah, mass chaos.
Absolutely, and that's the point. Second point, step number one, overload and break the welfare system. Step number two is have chaos ensue, and that's exactly what's going to happen when you bring lots of people across the border. How many do we say we're coming in at? 7.2 million illegal under Biden, more than the total population of 36 individual states. So 36 states or smaller. If we would have added a 51st state, it would have been in the top 15 in size in America. That's what they're rushing into the welfare system.
And more House of Representative representation and Senate representation and all that stuff, right? Because you don't need to be a citizen in the census for this to be calculated.
Well, and that, in fact, is the third step, take control in the chaos, is that when you bring these people in, you start ushering them in, you take control. We're the ones providing for you. And so you meet and greet every one of them with, here's your welfare card, here's your free phone, here's your debit card, all of those things. And by the way, you need to vote for the great Americans who've brought you this, because that's what America, does. This is designed as a political strategy, is take control in the chaos. And step number four is implement socialism and communism through government force. Are we feeling that?
We're definitely feeling that. And we're seeing, they're even, as I shared that experience when I was a kid and sponsoring families coming that we're trying to help, they're taking the church, either the churches are taking advantage of this for political gain, some of them, or they're trying to remove the church completely and say, let the government be the one in control now.
Yeah, no, and unfortunately, we're spending tax dollars to actually encourage people in other countries to come to America. They enter illegally, and then we put them on the welfare system, and we're already a nation heavily in debt. Yeah. Well, this goes back to the Bible days. When we talk about a nation under a curse is one that borrows from every nation and lends to none. A nation under a curse is one where the alien who lives among you rises higher and higher while the people lose more and more authority. But we've been warned about this, and you can get warned. I remember it wasn't long ago I was in Orlando, and I had Uber drivers, and every single one of them, which I don't know what the odds of that, but every single one of them were from Venezuela. Yes. And every one of them was warning, please, please, please don't take America down this communist socialist path.
It happened to me when I was in Florida. I heard the same thing. And we see people like that are here for the right reason, and they want to make a difference, and they want to be successful, and they want to contribute to society. But then we see others coming across the border that look flat out like they're here for a different purpose.
Right, which is our number two most serious top-level concern, is that there's a type of invasion going on. I remember reading The Secret Speech of General Qi from the Chinese Communist Party. It was published, my friend Jeff Nyquist brought it to me. It was published in the Epoch Times, reprinted in Jeff Nyquist's blog. Bottom line, he said that China has overpolluted the nation and that America has got so much room and so much opportunity and so many resources. And by the way, America was colonized by the Chinese early on, so we should implement, or he was speaking secretly to the Chinese Communist Party, to implement a strategy to invade America. And we're beginning to see signs of Chinese soldier, or at least military-age people coming across the border, and we're being warned about it. The Border Patrol is telling us, the Border Patrol unions are saying, look at all these military-age Chinese people entering America, and yet they're restricted. Their hands are tied by the Biden administration. They can't do anything about it.
Wow. So we're talking economic warfare, but who knows what other kind of warfare could be coming from this illegal immigration that's coming out there. I saw someone that appeared to be at least talking more terrorist-like you don't know who I am, but you will soon, in a tone of voice that was frightening. Not someone's coming here for opportunity in America.
No, there's no question, and that's coming from China. That's coming from several nations that hold to radical jihadist-style doctrines, that coming from radical Marxists and communists entering America. Why not? Why not? If you had an enemy, an actual enemy that you declared was an enemy, like many in the Chinese Communist Party, General Qi certainly did. And by the way, he was the head of all the he was the Don Rumsfeld, so to speak, of China at the time, and he's literally explaining how China should enter and invade the United States. Why wouldn't you come across an open border, right?
Yeah. And wasn't he the same one that said it'd be unfortunate to kill half of America, but might be necessary?
Yeah, he said it would be indeed unfortunate to kill 100 million Americans, but might be necessary to ensure the Chinese century. I mean, they've been eyeing the beautiful landscape, the pristine waters, clean air, and all the things that we have. And he was writing about how the period of peace where they would hide and bide their time to enter America. He was talking about that time has now over. The 20-year period of peace and development needs to end, and in its place, a new phase was required to take place, which he called modernization under the saber. He acknowledged there was a survey, and he acknowledged it was not only designed to see if young Chinese people would be willing to use deadly force against their perceived enemy, but more so their attitude toward war. If future soldiers do not hesitate to kill even non-combatants, they'll naturally be doubly ready and ruthless in killing combatants. And that was just the beginning of what we've been warned about from that speech.
Yeah, and you've been warning about the China threat for, since 2009, maybe 2008 even. And we talked about the economic pieces. You've talked about some of this geopolitical stuff that's out there. But it seems like as I read that headline and what they're doing, they're starting to move from just the pure economics into maybe something else. That's a bit concerning.
Yeah, no, Newsweek reported last June, is China sneaking military personnel into the U.S. via the border? What we know. This is Newsweek. We're not talking about some crazy military blog or anything else. But the Homeland Security Mayorkas is being investigated because of the border crisis. But part of it, what the Congress is looking into, is whether or not that they're allowing military-aged Chinese males to enter America. And that's a frightening thing because we're not stopping them. What we're doing is they come across the border, they don't have documentation, so we put them on a bus or an airplane and ship them to locations throughout the United States. You'd never do that with an enemy, but we seem to be doing it with a potential enemy.
Yeah, that kind of gets back to that according to plan thing. And I want to say as well, as Christians, the Chinese people are great people. And so we're talking about the threat of the Communist Chinese Party, not the Chinese people. And when you see the dynamics of people that are crossing the border, when we see stories like this, it certainly seems like there's an alternative agenda being worked right now, either from Chinese or within our own borders, letting this happen.
Wow. So China has been making vast investments into Latin America. They're like a boa constrictor, tightening and tightening around the United States. And that was reported in the Epoch Times with the title, China Behind Superhighway That Targets U.S. with Mass Migration and Economic Warfare. That's March 22nd. Where it's reporting from Panama, all of the things going on in Latin America with the intention of China to target America. So that is serious top-level concern number 2. Cloward Piven was number 1. Number 3 is even the United Nations and the World Economic Forum plan to take America lower. I'd say take America down. I don't know that they want to remove America from the planet, but take us down because we've been in the superpower position and they want to lower us to be just one nation among many.
Wow. And we were having dinner the other day, and you mentioned something about the founder of the United Nations. What was the story on that? Yeah,
the founder of the United Nations. Look it up, the history of it. It's frightening, but he was a Soviet agent. He was convicted as a Soviet agent. Alger Hiss, it's not a good story where the United Nations comes from, and yet the United Nations today is continuing those plans. They have budgeted millions for U.S.-bound migrants. In other words, they are funding all of this migration to America. In 2024, according to public documents, they show cash handouts to help feed, transport, and house people headed to the U.S. border. That was reported in the Center for Immigration Studies in January of this year. They're spending millions to bring people here, and they're not the only ones. The World Economic Forum, they say very publicly that by the year 2030, America will be one of many nations, not anything superior. Their flag would be at the same level. I mean, that is the intention of the world. Why wouldn't you try and bring America down if you were the rest of the world and America was in a higher position? I just want to lower them to my level so that they don't. I don't have to compete against them.
Yet today, so many people seem to look at the United Nations and think, oh, this is about peace and everybody getting along. It doesn't seem that's the world we really live in.
No, and all the things America's done, I'm very proud of our nation. I'm not so proud of some of the things we've done, but many of the things we've done. We're one of the few nations that has gone around the world and fought and bled and spent treasure to bring freedom to other people, and all we've asked is for the land to bury our dead. Now, coming up, we'll continue our serious concerns with this mass immigration that threaten your personal liberty, security, and values. In uncertain times, finding stability in the economy can feel challenging. But what if you could navigate economic volatility while honoring your biblical values? At Timothy Plan, they believe this balance is possible. Timothy Plan filters its volatility-weighted ETFs and family of mutual funds through a biblical pro-life and pro-family lens, so you can see competitive returns and moral responsibility, helping you to weather the economic storms. With Timothy Plan, align your investments with your values while adapting to our ever-changing culture. Since 1994, Timothy Plan has been recognized leader in biblically responsible investing. Timothy Plan, your bridge between faith, finances, and the future. Visit timothyplan.com or call 1-800-TIM-PLAN or 1-800-846-7526. Investing includes risk, including possible loss of principal. Before investing, carefully consider a fund's investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses contained in the prospectus available at timothyplan.com.
Pirate Money Radio, helping you give, spend, and invest in ways that align with liberty, security, and values. Welcome back with your host, Kevin Freeman.
We love immigrants and immigration. America's built on immigrants. In fact, the richest man, or one of the richest men, it varies. Sometimes it's Bill Gates, and sometimes it's Jeff Bezos, and sometimes it's Elon Musk. Yeah, and Elon Musk, he's an immigrant. He's an African immigrant, in fact, South Africa. He was recently quoted as saying, "Democrats allow illegal immigration to build political power." That means they're importing a lot of voters. Mm-hmm. What should we be doing, Mike? When you see these people coming into America, you think, well, they're hiding in the shadows. They're not documented. They're not going to vote. They don't impact. And yet, a lot of cities are opening up the voter rolls to allow them to vote, at least in city elections.
Well, that's what's crazy right now. I mean, we have one set of rules for you and I, and another set of rules for the, I'm just going to call them what they are, the illegal immigrants. I saw in Illinois the other day that they're now able to have handguns, which I thought was interesting. So I was like, wait a second. So we've got potential Chinese soldiers or people with not good intentions coming here, and we're saying, oh, let's give them the weapons. But if you're a citizen in Illinois, we want to do everything we can to control guns.
Yeah, no, it's strange. That was a court ruling. It's strange. But Epic TV did a special on this on March 29th. Illegal immigrants are voting in U.S. elections. The migrant crisis is political warfare. That's one of their Crossroads episodes on Epic TV. You can check that out at Epic Times. But it's Roman Balmakov, and it really was a frightening idea of how people can come here, not be documented, and yet get rushed onto the voter rolls. Yes. And you really can't check to see if they're actually citizens or not. That's economic warfare. There's no question about that.
It's economic warfare. You talked about some of this in your previous book, According to Plan, and make no mistake, folks. This is stuff that is happening intentionally. And it's not to strengthen America, it's to weaken it.
Yeah, well, and it's going to have individual impacts. It's going to have a job loss. People have lost jobs. I mean, I think it was Tyson's. It was one of the chicken producers. They fired American citizens, and then they hired illegal. It wasn't that long ago. It was completely illegal to hire illegal immigrants. Mm-hmm. And now we're seeing that that's kind of expected and almost applauded. And the impact is going to be severe.
It was less than 20 years ago. I remember building a house here in Dallas, and we were driving around looking for new neighborhoods to build in, and I saw immigration there. I was driving through at the same time, and people were running scattered. That doesn't happen anymore today, and I'm not saying that was the right process that they had back then, but now we're just welcoming everybody in.
Oh, yeah, we are. And in fact, it's been switched around. It used to be that they were a drain on society, which, by the way, economically they are. I can tell you that. But now the narrative is that actually illegals contribute because they pay taxes and they do the jobs that no one else wants to do. And we really need them. We truly do. Well, there's a great report called The Cost of Illegal Immigration to Taxpayers. It's prepared testimony of Stephen Camarota, the Director of Research at the Center for Immigration Studies. It came out January 11th of this year, and here's the summary. It says, illegal immigrants are a net fiscal drain, meaning they receive more in government services than they pay in taxes. This results not due to laziness or fraud. Illegal immigrants actually have high rates of work, and they do pay some taxes, including income and payroll taxes. The fundamental reason that illegal immigrants are a net drain is that they have a low average education level, which results in low average earnings and tax payments. It also means a large share qualify for welfare programs, often receiving benefits on behalf of their U.S.-born children. Like their less educated and low-income U.S.-born counterparts, the tax payments of illegal immigrants do not come close to covering the costs they create. Now, look, we have a societal commitment to provide for American citizens, and we've done that. That's a choice of society. But we can't take on the best way to bankrupt a nation is to offer unlimited welfare and then open the borders. Who wouldn't come here for such benefits if you have open borders, people to cross, and you're going to bankrupt the system. That's the bottom line. So we can't allow an importation of voting bloc that's going to cause this. It's going to cause a loss of jobs for real Americans. It's going to hurt the economy. It's going to increase the debt. And we've talked a lot about the debt. It has health impacts. In fact, a lot of people aren't even screened. This is impossible to imagine in the age of COVID, where we had to keep 6-foot distance and we had to wear masks, that we're bringing people over that have obvious communicable diseases.
I saw tuberculosis is a problem again in the U.S. now, or starting to be.
And there's a measles outbreak in Chicago shelters.
Yeah.
And that not just for humans. That was number 6 is the health impacts. And number 7 is the food impacts. Here's the problem. We're bringing diseases on that are impacting our food as well as our personal health. And the food impacts we already have a stressed food system, and it's just getting worse. So bottom line is illegal immigration has a lot of costs. In fact, Federation for American Immigration Reform calculated the total as $150.7 billion every year. We already have a stressed budget, and we're adding $150.7 billion on top of that. And that was also reported not just by that one group, but also by Newsweek. So we're not talking about, again, strange people making strange claims. This is Newsweek reports.
Well, we certainly have issues as it relates to the economic impact, the health impact, food. What else can there be?
Yeah, well, food is screwworms have been brought in by unfettered illegal immigration, 9 million encounters since 2021. The normal guardrails for inspection are ignored, raising the likelihood of unwanted diseases being brought across the border. Again, this is an Epoch Times article. They're doing phenomenal reporting on this. This is March 26th. So this is a pretty recent article, and it threatens our food supply. Number 8 is crime rates, and we're seeing that in Europe. Even the Swedes are article in Fair, how terror and crime made Sweden reject open borders, March 28th.
Did you see on Michigan targeting specific groups? They're dressed up in special outfits and everything, targeting specific homes that are uninhabited, mainly bigger, expensive homes, and hauling out everything they can. It's become an issue even in the U.S. now where we see that.
Oh, that scary thing to me was that TikToker that comes on and he's teaching illegal immigrants how to squat in homes. Oh. And there's a lot of private property rights in various states where if you live in a home for a certain period of time, you can claim it, and then you can have that scary video where the woman owned the home, she inherited it, and she got kicked out of her home. Police arrested her and took her out because she had improperly changed the locks to prevent squatters from coming. It's just crazy.
I saw Babylon Bee had a fun thing where Trump was going to have to squat back in Trump Tower if he didn't win his lawsuit.
Yeah, well, in New York, he could probably make that claim and get Trump Tower back. The bottom line is we're a very generous society here in America, but we've got to be aware that drugs, drug cartels, terrorism, they're all coming across the border, and we've got to weaponize our money to promote liberty, security, and values. And part of that is educating people. When people understand some of these risks, they can respond to them. And we're very grateful to have partners that allow us to help educate people. There are only 3 things you can do with your money. You can give it, spend it, or invest it. Here on Pirate Money Radio, we work to bring solutions that support all 3 areas in a way that promotes liberty, security, and values. Thankfully, Patriot Mobile, a mobile phone company with coverage on most platforms, including Apple, Android, and several others, Patriot Mobile supports the Pirate Money radio program and others that support Judeo-Christian values. More information about both the Economic War Room and Patriot Mobile is available at piratemoneyradio.com/AFR. So we're grateful to be able to educate people, help people learn more about this serious problem of immigration, help them learn how to protect their own wealth, and help to stop terrorists and drug cartels and all of that. Sanctuary cities that are very generous cities. Sanctuary, come here. It's based on a term from the Bible, and they say, well, come here, we'll love on you and we'll take care of you. They're being overwhelmed and overrun right now. In fact, they're begging for help with this migrant surge. Democrat mayors are begging President Biden. This is a Fox News report for help with the migrant surge. They want $5 billion. That's how big the problem is. They rejected the $1.4 billion offer. They want $5 billion of help, which is a huge amount of money.
You know, it's interesting. When it was just in Texas or Florida, it was, their problem. And boy, these people just aren't treating them right. And we're going to welcome these illegal immigrants. Now, all of a sudden, these Democrat mayors are having a different perspective on things.
Oh, yeah. A Denver city official was caught on camera begging migrants to leave, head for Chicago, go to New York City. You're going to suffer here if you stay in Denver. I mean, they're passing around the buck. This what was well-intentioned as a program to help people, welfare and sanctuary cities, and, well, I hope it was well-intentioned, has turned into a nightmare for a lot of these because the surge across the border is virtually an invasion. Even in Massachusetts, they're calling it an invasion.
Yeah. And it's so sad, Kevin, because this could be done right. America could be that shining city on the hill still. We could be that melting pot. It could be a place where people come for liberty and security, a chance to get ahead. But this clearly is being executed in a way that's setting it up for failure.
Yeah, no, that is correct. It wasn't that long ago that Democrats themselves were talking about legal versus illegal immigration. Mm-hmm. Bill Clinton himself was very strong in saying that we should stop illegal immigration. We passed laws, and a lot of Democrats and Republicans together passed these laws, and they're not being followed by the Biden administration, and Border Patrol is complaining about it. So we will have another segment coming up, and we're going to answer a few listener questions. For example, can the states work together to solve the immigration problem if the federal government does not? That's Karen L. from Fort Worth. If you have a question and you want to ask it of us at Pirate Money Radio, ask your question by emailing to afr@piratemoneyradio.com. We'll get your question, and then we'll be able to address it and answer it on a future episode of Pirate Money. Bottom line is we're facing an immigration real nightmare. It's something that's overwhelming our system. It's something with health impacts, food impacts, crime impacts. Drug cartels are using the open borders to come across, as well as terrorists. And that's a real problem. So how do we respond to these things? By the way, if you want to ask your questions at afr@piratemoneyradio.com. We're going to take another break. When we come back, we're going to dive not just into the problem, but we have very real solutions that you can apply in your life and in your state here at Pirate Money Radio.
I'm Kevin Sorbo. When you spend money, you consider who you're buying from and the causes they support. If you don't, then you're likely supporting companies that are trying to destroy our country and take away our freedoms. Patriot Mobile is America's only Christian conservative wireless provider. They're a cell phone company and a good one. They offer nationwide coverage on the best 4G and 5G networks along with 100% US-based customer support. But here's the deal. Patriot Mobile's mission has nothing to do with cell phones. They carry out their mission by giving back millions of dollars every year to Christian conservative causes that are actively engaged in the fight to save America. Voting is no longer enough to beat the woke. We have to band together, support like-minded companies, and vote with our dollars. That's how we win. Stop supporting companies that want to destroy America and join Patriot Mobile today by visiting patriotmobile.com or call 972-PATRIOT.
Pirate Money Radio, helping you give, spend, and invest in ways that align with liberty, security, and values. Welcome back with your host, Kevin Freeman.
Yes, and we're talking about immigration today, the impact on society, the impact on you individually. Does it hurt? Does it really hurt? This has been such a politicized issue. We've got people on the left and the right, and they have big arguments about it. You know, I was looking at the big idea as an article in Politico, and this is back in 2016, before the problem got nearly as bad as it is. But here we have a Harvard Kennedy School professor of economics, George J. Borjas. and he just slams Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. Secretary Hillary Clinton and then presidential candidate, but now former President Donald Trump, he basically says, I've been studying immigration for 30 years, and I've looked at it, and I'll tell you, the reality of it is it does hurt people. Now, he didn't take Trump's position. He's no fan of President Trump whatsoever. In fact, he complained because he says, Donald Trump used one of my economic papers to back up his plan to crack down on immigrants and build a physical wall. And then he goes after Hillary Clinton, for her part, seemed to be only telling the other half. Clinton claimed that immigrants, both legal and illegal, improve the economy for everyone. She told the crowd, I believe that when we have millions of hardworking immigrants contributing to our economy, it would be self-defeating and inhumane to try to kick them out. Well, here's the reality. Bottom line, he says, neither side's revealing the whole picture. Bottom line, illegal immigration hurts people. It hurts American workers. It takes jobs that people could otherwise have. And then we have all of the expenses of caring for these people that are coming, rushing the border. And when I say rushing the border, Mike, did you see that video where they broke through the barrier?
Yeah. Well, and then what's even more concerning is I saw the judge just released them and said, that's okay.
Yeah, they got arrested after they just You go try that, Mike. Go overrun.
Next time I'm at the airport, I'm just going to avoid security because I
just
understand
overrun
they don't
them
do that either.
And the judge will just let you go. There won't be any problem. Yeah. The bottom line is this is a real problem, and it's a real problem, by the way, that even those who have come here one generation ago, or if they've come with a Hispanic background or Latino voters, they're upset with America opening the borders to illegal immigration. They're being hurt too, right?
Yeah. Well, many of them came here to be part of that melting pot, to be part of this great experiment. And I mentioned earlier about some of the construction workers running when immigration came through. But I will tell you, some of the skilled labor that they came, some of the framework that these immigrants were able to do, absolutely amazing. And now all of a sudden they're seeing what they've created and built being jeopardized by illegal immigration.
Yes, and it's being hidden from us. It's obviously political because the Border Patrol Union says that President Biden is flying in immigrants so the border doesn't look as out of control. What they're doing is essentially they're bringing people they're flying them over the international border and then releasing them in America so it doesn't look like they're going through the border.
Right.
Can you believe that?
They don't even need security checks. I was at the airport the other day and they were doing the take your picture thing, and I was like, illegal immigrants don't need to have any ID or take their pictures. So I thought, well, just for fun, I'm going to ask if I have to have my picture taken. And sure enough, she said, well, no, you don't have to if you don't want to. So she let me off the hook. But, do we have standards or don't we on what we're doing here?
If you can get on a plane without an ID card as an American citizen, I would be shocked.
I didn't get that far. They just didn't get to take my picture.
Yeah, well...
They did look at my driver's license.
Oh, that's good. My driver's license, by the way, I went to a store yesterday and they needed to see my driver's license, and they looked at it and looked at me and looked at it and looked. It is due for renewal. My hair was a lot darker when that picture was taken.
At least you have hair.
Is this your son? And no, that's me. It's been a little while since I've had the picture changed, but bottom line is you're right. According to TSA and according to multiple reports, there are illegal aliens transported on airplanes in America without presenting a proper ID. And then when you combine that with what you shared earlier, that a federal judge said that they have a constitutional right as an illegal in Illinois to carry a gun, seems like a bad formula to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can carry a gun and you can get on a plane without an ID. I don't like this. So what's the answer? The answer is that New York's giving prepaid debit cards. The answer is that we're giving special privileges to those that are here illegally. This is from Fox News. Published March 26, New York City begins giving illegal immigrants prepaid debit cards as part of a pilot program $53 million being spent.
Wow.
City
Wonder
of
how
New
that's
York
gonna
is
work.
very wealthy, huh?
Yeah.
All right, if you're an illegal immigrant in any part of the country, maybe you want to go to New York and get in on this pilot program, get the prepaid debit cards. This is nonsense.
Yeah. And as soon as the money runs out, there will be chaos.
That's right. This is the Cloward Piven strategy. That's what we started with,
Yep,
isn't it?
yep.
It all comes back to that. So what is the answer? How do we solve this problem? I'll give you one simple answer. Enforce the law. We're a nation of laws. Enforce the law. Protect the border. As Christians, we ought to respond with great amount of compassion. But we also ought to educate anyone who comes here about America. A lot of the people entering America today fear communism. They're fleeing bad situation in their former country, and they're coming here for liberty, security, and values. But they're unaware that they're taking America back to what they just escaped from. You know, there's a joke about this. We say in Texas, it's like maybe we're building the wall on the wrong border because a lot of people coming from California, don't California my Texas and so forth.
I talked to a family the other day that came from California that were building a great house. And I was like, hey, welcome to Texas. Just don't bring your politics. Like, we moved here because they moved here because of Texas politics, not
Boy,
California.
there are a lot of people moving from California. Pods.com, which is like U-Haul and others are talking about. The headline is, why are so many Californians moving to Texas? That was March 27th on pods.com. And they explain it. The bottom line is the cost of living in California is substantially higher. People fleeing third world countries aren't coming here because the cost of living is lower, though. They're coming to America because they're escaping tyranny, or they're part of that migration invasion that is being bribed to come here.
Yes.
So how do we solve that? I got a simple answer. We educate everyone who comes here about American. We start teaching the history of America, the good things America has done in the world. We start teaching American values. That's what happened with the immigrants that came here in the 19th century and the early 20th century. They learned. Have you seen that movie Cabrini?
I've not seen it, no.
It's a beautiful movie. Rotten Tomatoes gives it a super high score. I think on Rotten Tomatoes, it's a tomato meter 91%, and the audience score is 98%. It's a beautiful film. A friend of mine helped produce it. It is a story of Italian immigrants. And, people are people. So 100 years ago, people were afraid of them and so forth, but these were Italians coming to America for liberty, and they wanted to be Americans. That was their purpose in coming here. Now Italian Americans are a part of the great American experience. My family were Irish Americans coming here, and they were mistreated and maligned and attacked, but now Irish Americans are a big part of America because you come here and you believe in the things that America teaches.
Absolutely. And we need that. That's what I grew up on as a kid. I would love for us to be able to get back to that. But again, I think we've got this. What's happening right now can't be happening just by accident. It's happening according to plan. So how do we fight back a little bit? How do we welcome those that want to be here, that want to be part of this great American experience?
Well, you can learn more because I wrote a book on that. You can learn more about my book, According to Plan, at accordingtoplanbook.com. But the bottom line is there are some people, a small percentage of people, that have malintentions for America, and unfortunately they have a very loud voice, and they're part of that Cloward Piven strategy that we talked about. But we can solve that problem, number one, by loving people as believers, by rising up, because if we can, a nation under a curse, let's become a nation under blessing. A nation under blessing is one where you love your neighbor as yourself. So let's treat them like neighbors and love them. Number two, let's get our politics straight, and let's start voting to be a nation of laws again. And so vote for the candidate that you think is going to help protect the borders. I think that's a good thing. I think that's something we should do. We want people to become Americans. And here's an answer. This is a beautiful answer. And Mike, you and I together talked to the Attorney General Ken Paxton in Texas and said, hey, Texas has a lot of authority as a state under the Constitution to protect the border. Do you remember that conversation?
Yes. Oh, yeah. It was action-packed. And then we saw headlines hit on the news shortly after that. So the timing was unbelievable.
Yeah, in fact, Newsweek has written a book, written an article, American states are backing the Texas governor, 25 states. So there's a question that we got from Karen L. in Fort Worth. Can the states work together to solve the immigration problem if the federal government does not? And the answer is yes. Under the Constitution, Texas can protect the border if it's being invaded, and it clearly is. And 25 states have stepped up and said, we support Texas in that effort. Now, we had another question. Mike, do you want to read this question?
Yeah, next question, again, from AFR at piratemoneyradio.com. I don't live in a border state, but don't these people just do jobs Americans don't want?
Bottom line is that they're taking jobs that Americans do want, and we need to have a legal process for immigration. We have a whole workplace process. But we welcome your questions. You can ask your question at AFR at piratemoneyradio.com. But let's close with the solution. The solution is we can, in states, come up with a solution if the federal government's not stepping up. Now, I urge everyone to encourage the federal government to step up, do the right thing on borders. Look, if the laws are too restrictive, let's change the laws. Let's not just ignore them. I think it's a dereliction of duty for the administration to ignore the laws that the Congress has passed. And there's a process to change the laws if you don't like the laws. It is not by executive order, fiat, or ordering the Border Patrol to stand down. This is a very real risk for America and Americans. This is costing us jobs. It's costing us welfare dollars that are being spent, which takes us even deeper into debt. This is what we teach at Pirate Money Radios. We talk about the Constitution. We talk about the Bible. We talk about preserving liberty, security, and values. We talk about real solutions. That's what Pirate Money Radio is about. We will have another solution in the next episode of Pirate Money Radio.